Awesome. All right. Well, good morning. My name is Kelly Spar, and I'm the president of the Nebraska Culture Change Coalition. And on behalf of the coalition, I'd just like to welcome you and thank you guys for joining us today for our monthly Coffee with the Coalition. This is something new we've been doing since January. And it's just so great to have people come and share what they're doing in their communities and how it's impacting the lives of the people that we serve, and really promoting culture change in your environments. And that is what we are all about as a coalition. So it's really exciting to have everyone come and share. So thank you guys for being here. Before we get started, I just want to take a second. We don't always get to recognize the people that are on our leadership team for the coalition that are working behind the scenes, making all these things happen. And so I just want to take a second to introduce you guys to the leaders, the people on the leadership team that are on here this morning. Just very briefly, we have Teresa Parker, and we have Jeffrey All. Morning, Renee Pickerel. Hello, who else is on? Kirsten Reed. Natalie McCormick is here with Leading Age Nebraska, and also Natalie Leon with Visiting Angels. So those are some of the folks that make up our leadership team. And so thank you guys. I really appreciate all that you do. So, well, it's my pleasure to introduce to you guys a power team from Tabitha. We're excited to have you guys here today. By design, nonprofit Tabitha is addressing the needs of the community and changing the way we think, which is super exciting because it's all about culture change. The way we think, live, and interact with our neighbors. And I can't think of anything more culture change appropriate for us to be talking about right now. And it's happening right here in Lincoln, which is super cool. And I drive by that building all the time, and I can't wait to see what it's going to look like. So I just want to introduce the three gals that are here from Tabitha this morning. Joyce Ebmeier is the Chief of Staff at Tabitha. Welcome. Ms. Ebmeier is dedicated to promoting innovation for seniors in our society and improving services and systems. Ms. Ebmeier brings over 35 years of experience in administration and planning at Tabitha, and she has successfully executed innovative projects and programming aimed at achieving the best for Nebraska's older adults. Welcome, Joyce. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Lauryl Hebenstreit is a recent University of Nebraska-Lincoln alumni who joined the Tabitha team last June. Since joining Tabitha, she has aided in the development of Nebraska's first ever intergenerational co-housing endeavor, Sage Living by Tabitha. Laura's primary project is to complete a set of programs and activities rooted in social connection for the residents that we'll soon call Sage Home. Laurel's favorite part of her work at Tabitha is working with an advisory team composed of 3 older adults and 2 Branch College of Health Sciences students. Their knowledge and perspectives are invaluable to the future of Tabitha's newest adventure. Welcome, Lauryl. That is an exciting job, if you ask me. And then we have Aubrey Paulsen. Aubrey leads Tabitha's team of senior living advisors who support seniors and families with living options and resources throughout the aging journey. Outside of living community options, Aubrey and team collaborate with Tabitha team members to build plans of support to include home health, Meals on Wheels, serious illness support, respite care, and hospice. Aubrey's team works across 4 campuses, including Tabitha's newest community, Tabitha at Prairie Commons in Grand Island, Nebraska, offering a full continuum of independent living, assisted living, and memory care, as well as skilled and long-term care, and the forthcoming Sage Intergenerational Living Community located on Tabitha's main campus. Welcome, Aubrey.
So much.
I will turn it over to you guys. You're here to teach us, so we're here to learn.
Awesome. I will get my screen shared here. Awesome. Can everyone see my little screen? We'll see if I can get it full screened here. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess we already kind of did introductions. Joyce, do you have anything that you want to add before we really get going?
No, it's just great to be among culture changers. So this is our sweet spot. We love it. Thank you for inviting us.
All right, so to go ahead and get us started, behind every dream, there's always a reason, right? And so here at Tabitha, we're asking ourselves, what's the next thing that we can do? Where's the gap that we can step into, and what needs attention at this time? And so when the dream of Sage Living by Tabitha first started to take form, it was propelled by what leadership at Tabitha was seeing. And I think what we were all kind of feeling, and what the pandemic really magnified, is this issue of social disconnection. And so Christy, Tabitha's CEO, highlights here in this video that we're going to play the kind of initial reason that began to create urgency around Sage Living. It starts off very quiet, so don't be too alarmed, but do let me know if you can't hear it.
We work our whole lives with the idea that we'll never have to be dependent on someone else. What we hear from every senior and their families is, whatever you do, never put me in a nursing home, keep me in my own home. But what we also know to be factual is that home is different than what we remember it to be. At some point, our home actually becomes this place of loneliness.
At least you didn't blow up the incense. Why'd you junk him instead of just letting him sit here? Is it okay to get a shot of it? Yes, go ahead. A good one. See lots of action.
Just because they say, don't put me in a nursing home, doesn't mean I want to sit here lonely and isolated in my own home. So when we say we want to be in our own home, what we are imagining in our heads is that it is vibrant and full of life and our families are there. We're remembering good old times and we're dreaming of the future. And then all of a sudden the kids are gone and the grandkids are grown and they stop visiting and our spouse is no longer with us and home is just lonely. And so we have this growing epidemic of loneliness where we have people all sitting separately. And while we're saying to ourselves, we're more connected than ever because we have all of these wonderful technology solutions, the truth is a phone between us does not replace the soft touch of a hand or a hug or a kiss or sharing tears together. If we're lucky enough, the one thing that all of us will have in common is that we will all grow old. And none of us know what that chapter will look like for us when we get there. And we would all hope or be lucky enough that a place like Tabitha, a friend like Tabitha, would be there to stand by us and walk with us in that journey, no matter what.
So we haven't really strayed that far from the work that Dr. Thomas charged us to pursue, and that is, to understand and respect and do what we can to help with that epidemic of loneliness. But there's a lot of stigma attached to the idea that you're lonely. Many of us don't even want to admit that we're lonely, even though that exists and has been magnified over the last couple of years. The The thing is, people are wired for connection. We're just built this way. And our modern brains have developed, and those times where we can connect, where we do connect, have actually helped mankind across the ages. If you think of the caveman sitting in his cave and being isolated, he became a lot more safer. He became a lot more safe when he found the tribe that he was going to be running with. So this has driven us. It also makes us feel, when we don't have access to social connections, when those start to get further and further away from us, it impacts us and our health significantly.
And so in our learning about how wired for connection we really are, we've found, the topic of social connection is incredibly complicated, but it's something that we all feel, right? So it needs a little bit of figuring out. It's something that affects us all. And so at any point in our lives, we're ebbing and flowing through this constant state of connection or disconnection. And this wonderful graphic by Stanford really shows the feelings of both a healthy togetherness, but also like an overwhelming togetherness. And we can have a healthy solitude and a toxic loneliness, that these are different states of being that we're always going through. I know coming out of those initial stages of the pandemic, like I felt that overwhelming togetherness, right? You got so used to not being around people, suddenly being around people was really chaotic and really overwhelming. And so where there is togetherness, both positive and negative, we can all experience these different states. And even with these complications, we still know that we're at our best physically and mentally when we have access to connection with others.
So the human response to loneliness is biological. Just like we can get hangry when we're hungry, and that's a real thing. We have 7 habits of loneliness that manifest, that are not uncommon for a lot of our conversations as professionals in senior services talk about, why is this person showing this particular behavior, and how can we alleviate whatever it is that's driving someone to react in perhaps a paranoid way, or a way that really continues to be more and more isolated. It's a physical, chemical phenomena in our bodies, and it doesn't do good things for us. It hurts us. So recent studies have shown that being lonely sometimes at age 60 can actually reduce our life expectancy by 5.4 years. That's significant. We increase the possibility of a stroke by 32%. Dementia is twice as common when we are in a lonely state. And the heart disease increase is at 29%. So if there's something we can do, to create greater social connections, which will reduce loneliness, can we produce healthier outcomes and happier outcomes for those that we serve?
And these happier outcomes are incredibly important when we look at something like the Stanford Longevity Report, right? So this is talking about how we're living longer lives, which is an absolute blessing, right? But also means we have to shift and rethink the way that we think about aging, and the way that we talk about it, and the way that we live in a society that is experiencing this kind of age diversity. And so at a time when reaching the age of 100 is no longer going to be an outlier, we're tasked with shaping the way that aging is perceived and celebrated. And so it's a hope of ours at Tabitha that SAGE and projects like it not only improve this physical mental health aspect of connection, but that our very thoughts around aging actually are filled with gratitude and joy and purpose. And so what that means is we have to begin to change the script of aging itself.
So this is one of the reasons I think we love our profession. We get to be creative. We get to learn and then rewrite the script. And so finding these iterations, and hopefully that with each iteration, we find new ways to improve the lives of older adults that we serve. Dr. Thomas wrote that multiple generations living close by and looking out for each other is possibly the oldest of all human ideas. And that's so true. But if we can change the narrative so that age diversity can be valued and utilized well to contribute back to society, that would be quite an accomplishment. And if we can, in our project, have an environment where we can foster those ideas about change and learn from the connectivity that is achieved by the people who live there, we hope to have the opportunity to once again bring another chapter that will demonstrate that we're continuously improving what we can do as we grow older. So we originally brought our script together thinking about these three challenges that loom large in all of our lives. And that is, there is an epidemic of loneliness. We talked a little bit about that. And there's also a lack of moderately priced housing. You know, I'm not talking about affordable housing that has offerings in our community. I'm not talking about the high-end housing, but what about the teacher, the fireman, the people who didn't have those huge incomes, but have a solid retirement? Can we find a product that is priced and exists so that they have a place that they can thrive in? And then finally, the idea that, you know, the workforce shortage in our profession is hurting us all so much. We have to find new ways to inspire those folks who will come into this profession and teach us new things too. But we're competing at such a degree these days that we wanted to create an environment and bring the students in so that they can have experiences that we get to have in our work days, but they may not have exposure to, and the college may not have focused on to the degree that we hope will inspire them to become professionals for older adults. So seniors are students, we want to bring them together and with that create solutions out of intergenerational living.
And so Sage Living is going to come to life, you know, right at the heart of Lincoln. It's going to be at this corner of 48th and L Street, just a couple blocks from Bryan College. I think that's such a big perk to just be like less than a mile away from where you go to school. And so we specifically extended the invitation to Bryan College of Health Sciences because of their proximity, but also because they don't currently have a student housing model. And so we thought that this, again, steps into another gap that we were seeing with students that we could really help to fill, and then, you know, bring them a little bit closer to Target and the mall along the way.
So just to tell you a little bit about the design, and the design is important. You know, we did everything about this project is intentional. But it's only part of the story of this environment. We're going to learn so much more when it becomes enlivened with the residents. But we've utilized a lot of experts in design. We've created spaces on first floor to bring people out of their apartments and together. And we also created apartments specifically for the students that we refer to as micro suites, but more often we refer to them as dorm rooms on steroids. And that's because we've equipped them like an apartment you would rent, with a washer and dryer in your unit, with you know, a small kitchen. The space is small, and that's by design, but you have also access to tremendous spaces on first floor that will hopefully invite and manifest in real community at Sage. We're going to show you a few pictures here. We've done, you know, we also have added things like a dog run and a pet spa in the basement, so the dogs and the pets can have their grooming stations, underground parking, so on and so forth. This is what we call our front door shot. We've got some surface parking. This is right next to Tabitha's residences. So we're right next to the James House at the corner of 48th and L. This shows some of the landscaping, and what we're doing to try to fit into the neighborhood. It is a big structure. It's 128 apartments, 4 stories high. When you drive by it, you notice it. And at the same time, we really want to work to become an asset for the Witherby neighborhood in which this lies. This then is looking down 40 or L Street, I believe. And so you can see the entrance into the underground parking. You can get a kind of a profile shot here of the building. This is at the northern edge of our campus. So there's, as far as a walking path and opportunities to sort of move from one community to another amongst our campus, this sort of finishes the story of our campus and knits it together with independent living and intergenerational living. And then this is a space we're really excited about. This is the second floor terrace area. So you would enter it from the second floor. It's intended to be a tailgating area and also a gardening area, and also where you might get up in the early morning and do your yoga on those beautiful Nebraska mornings, those few that we get. But we've got space here where there's outdoor televisions, you can watch the games, there's grills, and seating spaces that we think will draw people to. We also have we have a master gardener and a couple of gardeners that are very anxious to help us with the landscape plantings as well as the planter plantings in this community. So we're looking forward to seeing how those shape up as well.
And so kind of touching back where we have these uncommon common spaces that Joyce was briefly talking about back inside. And so you're going to see that we have a lot of intentional community connection spaces on this floor. We have a wellness room. We have an activity kind of yoga multi-purpose room. We have study nooks and an innovation studio, right, where someone can come in and teach a class or give a presentation. And then we have our cafe area. So we will have a Monday through Friday continental breakfast. So you'll get to come through that little cafe breakfast bistro area, get your coffee. We'll also, much to the students' excitement, have a 24/7 coffee bar. So, everyone's going to be caffeinated and just ready to mingle, right? And we have, right when you come in, you'll see this gorgeous double-sided fireplace in our corridor area. And that provides a nice, really comfy lounge living room space. So can make it a little quieter as well. And then we have a community dining, which is just fantastic, right? When we think about where the most social gatherings happen in everyone's household, right? It tends to be around food. And so how can we utilize it? Maybe a teaching wisdom sharing moment. I know I'm really bad at baking, right? So is there someone who can teach me how to bake in this community kitchen area? And then of course we have a TV lounge and library. So, you might not get ESPN in your room. We're going to make you come out and sit in the TV lounge and watch ESPN with everyone else. And that'll really provide some connection points as well. And so taking a further step inside, this is on the side of the fireplace, again, where you see that comfy living room space. We also have these garage doors that will swing up and open. So then, like Joyce was saying, on those few nice Nebraska days, we can have those open, we can have some nice air coming through as well. And then this is a shot of that community kitchen that I was talking about. So we'll have dining spaces, there will be a TV there, so if you just want to pull up a chair, maybe watch someone cook while also the game is on, that's absolutely an option. And that'll be like a full service, it'll have a stove, a fridge, a beverage cooler, those kind of amenities as well.
So every project we do, every step we take, we really do fall back into our core value of collaboration. We can't do this alone by any means. So if I was to share with you those who have been with us for the last 5 years as we plan and work to bring this together, it would be, some great partners with Bryan College of Health Sciences. This is Alethea Stovall and Marcia. Alethea is the Dean of Students, so she certainly has given us a window into what it's like to be a student when we are very, sort of mindset on the older adults. And then Marcia is helping us with research that we will be utilizing to make sure that we're hitting our goals, we're achieving the things that we hope for. And then on the other side of this slide, you see Clatch, which is a data analysis group out of New York. That's Adam Green and Dina Sassoon that we're looking at on this slide. And I do want to point out, I don't know how many of you have any experience with Clatch. They were new to us as we researched partners with this project. They are dedicated to removing loneliness for older adults, taking that burden off their shoulders, and then analyzing and giving us tools that will help us understand how well and how we can do this. So they were a great fit for the project. It's been great getting to know them. And I think they would also be a strong resource for other reasons across our profession.
And then, of course, with all of these experts coming in and thinking about how we best serve our neighbors, we really have to engage with a level of research, which Marcia has been helping us do. And so before we could even think of reserving rooms in SAGE for older adults, we needed a pulse on our specific community and what they were feeling like they had for a level of connection. And so utilizing study groups from Nebraska AARP and some local living communities and students at Bryan College of Health Sciences, we were able to utilize this UCLA loneliness survey and Levy's image of aging survey to kind of find out the anecdotal experience of disconnection that was really aligning with our reality here in Lincoln. And that is indeed that there are some high levels of social disconnection that we're feeling that mirror the national average, and that actually our study participants experience a slightly more elevated feeling of disconnection. And so all of this research that we're finding out, right, once we finally have that pulse, it has to go somewhere. And so like Joyce was saying, every step of this project requires really great attention. And so design is this key to creating an intentional community. So we get to work with Davis Design as one of our partners, and they're absolutely fantastic in helping us. And then Ben Becker is actually a space optimization specialist. I think that's such a cool job. We were talking about my job being cool. I think that's a cool job of just getting to look at a space and seeing, is it really conducive to social connection? And we're talking about nitty gritty. Do we have 3 chairs or 2 chairs? What's the spacing between tables? How wide is a table? And so all of this really comes together to create meaningful relationships at SAGE, right? We can't just stick people in a building and hope they get along. There's a lot that goes into the intentional design of a project like this. And another thing at Tabitha that we like to focus on the core values is cultivating and collaborating with people. And so you heard in my bio, I work with a group of advisors, and along with Clatch, they had us create these personas. So this is one of the first things that I did when I started here at Tabitha. We had all these surveys with older adults and students, and I had to go in and aggregate that data to kind of create a person that we could always keep in front of us, right? This is a busy project with a lot going on. And so sometimes, you lose track of your who and your why that you're doing it. And so it was important for us when we're picking out furniture, when we're talking about plants, we have these in front of us to remind us who we're doing this for. And on these phone calls, when I was building these things, I was hearing the same pain points, the same goals and points of connection, right? People were talking about how, they love their home, but it's too big to manage right now. They need to downsize a little bit. They need to move to something they've lived long enough that they want to kick up their feet and maybe not do the yard work anymore, right? And also what I was hearing is that I have a purpose still. I need safety. I love sharing meals and playing card games, but I don't really have anyone to do that with. So I need someone to share my life with. And then I want to live joyfully and age gratefully. And the same really rings true with the college students as well. I know, coming as a former student, it was really important to me that students were seen as an equal stakeholder in this project. And so they also got to have these personas. And they were expressing the same desire for an intentional community because they too are feeling disconnected and are hungry for really meaningful relationships. And so these personas, while they're an aggregate of data, they're still living documents, and they're curated for us to be a reminder of who's really standing in the gap that Tabitha and Brian are trying to fill.
So we want to talk a little bit about selection process, where this month we're just starting the work on our student selection group. But really, since we broke ground last year, we have been meeting some great older adults who are very interested in becoming early adopters of this new model in this new community. And it's been remarkable. As you know, my experience in my profession was in the skilled nursing side. And so to have the opportunity to learn more about independent seniors and these young, vital, older adults has been a tremendous joy for me. We've done lots of interviews. They've given us a clear message that they are excited about the idea of having a variety of perspectives to take their points of view to and share and debate or whatever it is. They're not done yet, and they want to give back. So as an example, we have a couple of retired nursing professionals, nursing instructor professionals, those that actually worked. Some still, I think, are on the board at Southeast Community College. One of them is, and one is retired from Bryan College of Health Sciences. So they're coming and they're saying, we can still help with these students we know what they're going through. The older adults are 55 and older. And then the Bryan College students, many of them we think will be the first year students coming in, needing housing, might have some graduate students. That'd be exciting too. We developed a culture of connection survey that we use to continue to get to know them, to make sure this is a good fit for those who are showing interest. It's not for everybody, and it's going to be different. And there's some expectations and covenants that they will work together with. So planning this and being intentional for selecting who our residents, our first group of residents will be, has been extremely interesting and rich.
And if there's one thing you're going to get sick of hearing with us speaking is the word intentional. Like we love using that word all the time. And it's because it's true. It's what we do in our everyday work. And that includes something like an onboarding process. Typically a process that's really bureaucratic and kind of awful. You're signing a lot of papers. And so how do we make this process unique and really wonderful? And for us, that's just like an abundance of communication. And so we like to be very clear about this expectations. Like Joyce was saying, this is not a project that's going to be for everyone. Not everyone is going to want a living experience like this. And so we really just want to be very clear about those expectations and that communication. And so together with younger and older adults, we developed a set of covenants to communicate resident expectations for those who are going to call Sage home. And I love to think of these covenants as kind of designating the field of play, right? Living together is a really complicated game. and we don't always come to the field with the same knowledge or the same perspective, right? The way that you play a game is probably different from the way I play the game. And so how do we level out the playing field? How do we get us all on the same page as to how we play the game of living together? And this is just another opportunity for us to articulate our expectations early in hopes of just making someone's time at Sage really wonderful. And of course, we added something called the pre-move-in orientation, because when you're buying a home or renting an apartment, right, you usually get to see the space, you get to walk around, you get to feel it. Well, right now, we don't even have drywall up, right? So how do we do that? And so when Sage is getting ready to open, we'll have these pre-move-in orientations so we can give that same experience to people. So when it comes to move-in day, that's not the first time you're entering Sage, which will be, we're hoping, again, another step to make the process wonderful and unique. And then we also have programming. That's something else that has come out of an abundance of communication. That advisory group that I was telling you about, they love to share their ideas. When I originally pitched the advisory group, I really pitched it as, you're just going to tell me your opinions for an hour. And who doesn't love to just spout their opinions with no repercussions sometimes? And so in those conversations, in our interviews and surveys, these 5 areas of programming rose to the top. And so we'll use these as a guide to really develop 5 initial programs that are going to be ready to go when Sage opens. And with all of this, there's a lot of learning. Life together is not the dream ride that we all want it to be, even when we lay out these expectations. And so even now, we experience a difference of opinions and personalities that we each have. And so how do we learn from that? You know, is it hard to come back into the community if I leave for the summer? And how do we, through intentional living, really create our dreams together? How do we all find purpose in something while doing it together? And so at Sage, there's always going to be learning alongside our living. And it's important to take stock of the positive and the negative in order for us to replicate and build and shape more intergenerational living models.
One of the first questions I heard when we started talking rhapsodically about this project was, how do you think you'll really know that this can work or is working? And of course, that's extremely important. When you have to be able to demonstrate if you're going to replicate, and we hope that this will be something that inspires replication. So we really have two tracks as far as understanding that and then using that information to help us continuously improve the model. Clatch, I mentioned, they're going to help us in collecting and analyzing the data that we pull out of information gathered after we open up. And then also the research that will be done collaboratively with Bryan College. So we're feeling blessed with that. An interesting part of Clatch that I didn't touch on, but I just will mention, and that is they have developed something called a social quotient. And what that does, it enables us to utilize data to find out just where a person is at when they come in to the community related to the levels of social connection or loneliness, and then where they move along the way. So we'll be watching that for the individual, for the group, for the community, and I'm sure there's many more lessons that we will learn in the future. We are opening in phases. So starting this August, just prior to the start of the semester at Bryan College, we will open up 4th floor and then the 1st floor commons and underground parking. All the common spaces will be opening up when we open 4th floor. So that's mid-August of this year. And then we will go floor by floor about every 20 to 25 days, opening 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, etc. And then once we get that 48th Street tower, we're going to move over to the L Street tower, which is under completion as the others open up, and we'll repeat that. We'll do 4th floor and 3rd floor and 2nd floor. So by March 1st, we should be fully open and ready to be fully occupied. Well, that's, it's so interesting with projects because you work so hard to bring a project forward and you do so much planning and you think you're working your tail off, and you are, but that is a part of the story that's actually easier than living up to your promises. So there's much more to learn. We know there's many chapters to come, and they'll be filled with joy, tears, blood, sweat, and tears, all that, and yet it's a privilege to be able to work on this project.
It really is a privilege. And when I think about, some of the moments that I've had in this, I really do feel so blessed as a younger individual right out of college to get to experience some of these things. There's this story that I just love because it has stuck with me almost every day of the project. When we're talking about those anxieties with the project, right? This is kind of what gets me through. And it's from when I was still very early. I had just joined the Tabitha team, and Joyce and some other team members on the Tabitha squad, and I went out to Grand Island for a meeting with a woman who would later go on to reserve a room at Sage that day. And we met up for an afternoon. We had some cakes, we had some coffee, lots of chit chat. And she just said something that day that I can't get out of my mind. And she was telling what I thought was like a really mundane story about how much she loves to garden. She was just going on about her gardening, and I was listening, but I wasn't expecting to be wowed by anything that she was going to say. And she kept going, and she was talking about how she realized, she couldn't care for her garden. She's our master gardener. She's so good. But she just couldn't do it the way that she used to. It was becoming so tedious. Something that was so life-giving was becoming incredibly difficult. And she told us, and I quote, "Mulching is the worst, but I just keep doing it one bag at a time." I've never mulched, but I've done a lot of hard things, as I'm sure everyone on this call has. And that has stuck with me, just doing it one bag at a time. I mean, after all, with any good and beautiful thing, it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort to nurture it. And some days, we do just have to go one bag at a time. And I think that's how sometimes we work at Sage, right? We take this dream and we unfold it piece by piece by piece into reality, right? Just one bag, one chapter at a time. And we keep doing that through meetings like this. So we would like to open it up. If you have any points of view you'd like to share, any questions you'd like to ask for us, please feel free.
Well, I will start. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I'm an architect and this is just a fantastic project and I've been watching it being constructed on 48th Street there. So it was really cool. This presentation for me was really cool to see exactly what you're doing there. So congratulations. I think it's a great concept.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, tell me, how do people get referred or come into your community, older adults? I'm a home health nurse, so I always want to know this information because people always need places and things, and so.
How do they do that, Aubrey?
So they do that by getting connected with me. So I can send out my contact information, or if you have our trifold or anything, that's our main line on there. So typically it just starts with a conversation. So they call and they say, what is this thing all about? Either I see it being built, or I've heard about it. We, as both Joyce and Lauryl have mentioned, we've been so blessed to be so supported by the Lincoln community over the last couple of years. So there's a lot of chit chat about it. So it starts with a conversation and we spend a lot of time talking about our vision for it and the reason behind it and how we see life being breathed into the building. So that's really how I like to start the conversation. And then we get into some of those other details about floor plans and costs and amenities and those type of things.
And it's mainly independent living level of care.
It is, but I like to make the distinction that it's really a 55 plus. So it's a bit different than how we all in this room think about true independent living. It's a bit different than that.
Thank you. I'll put my name on the list for when I get to be 50.
I know, same. Right.
I was like, how do I get on the list?
And I would say, Lauryl, I just have to mention, and Joyce, at when Kelly introduced us, she called us the power team. So I really feel like we need to always continue to be known as the power team.
Yeah, I would like that on my name tag, actually. I think that would
I
be
like
great.
that. Maybe t-shirts.
We've been calling ourselves as Sagency, so we have
Agency is my new favorite word. That's just
There you go.
No, Kelly, it's so funny that you said that about moving in. When I first started working on the project, I was talking to my friends about it. I was talking to my boyfriend about it. And he consistently has been like, when we're older, can we come back to Nebraska and live at Sage? And I was like, yeah, that would be a legacy story. I'd love to do it. So, we're excited too, obviously. If it isn't obvious, we're also very excited.
Great, thank you.
This is Anna. Appreciate the passion. Wow. Quick question for you. That one slide you had up, it was student same and student opposite. Were you surprised at all by the difference in that?
Is that the research?
The research.
Yeah. So there's several really great resources that we're utilizing. One of them is out of AARP. And so we had already learned that on a national research level, that the millennials were more lonely than students. And so we had grappled with this actually before our data came in. And so we were looking at it closely. It's just a very interesting point, I think, that we have misconception about sometimes.
Yes, I appreciate that. Making us think that we, may not normally think that way. The next thing too, I wrote down, loved your language on mulching is the worst, one bag at a time. Tell me, we're all smiling at that. But isn't that just a stark visual, but so true?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, I'm thinking I'm ready to move in. And
Come on down.
I'm in that age category. I meet the perfect age, so I'm ready. So when are you looking at, and you may have said this, and I apologize if I missed it, but when are you looking at taking your first residence?
That's mid-August of this year.
Very cool. Very cool. I love this model. I think it's going to be great for the profession, for our nurses. And I also think it's great for those of us who are aging.
Hi, I have a comment and question. Fantastic program, great presentation, and kudos to all of you. I'm Mike Fisk, and I was involved in a program many years ago, UNO, and it was a service learning type program, and I've been able to stay connected in some fashion, both UNL, UNO, et cetera. Has there been any communication with service learning at the universities that have some sort of connection with what your program's all about with SAGE and so on, and potentially incentives from a student standpoint, opportunities, in line with senior care and healthcare, and just the potential synergy of UNL, UNO, and beyond with what you are doing.
We hope very much for that. We haven't achieved that yet. Right, what we'll do at the start, we have, as we mentioned, connections with Bryan College, and we're opening up with the Bryan College students, and we hope, and they are developing curricula that will utilize the environment and the community of SAGE for studies and learning, which we're excited about. We hope it grows from there. We hope that we can connect easily to a university setting. There are probably more models in the United States of intergenerational living on college campuses than anywhere else. So it's an interesting, our approach is unique. We haven't found anyone else who's exactly doing this with health sciences students, but the universities have made a lot of headway, and we're learning a lot from those other projects, and we hope to have a visit soon to a couple of those. But UNO and UNL are just such tremendous resources and opportunities, and being in Lincoln and close to Omaha is tremendous. We will open with an intern from the geriatrics program at UNL, and we hope that that's sort of a continuous presence in our project. So yeah, that's a very, if you can steer us toward a great contact or a great area to heat that conversation up a little bit, we'd love that.
Have you thought about doing a white paper or getting the messaging out on this? I'm sure you have. But how about the Facility Guidelines Institute? They're all FGI. They are all about design and architecture. What makes this unique is obviously the intergenerational component of it. But that's something, Joyce, wow. Get the word out on what you're doing. Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of them, and I know just a little bit about them. So I will do a little research there too. Yeah, we do want to amplify this. We hope that we can demonstrate a tremendous impact on the health and well-being of the older adults as well as the students. And in doing so, we hope that we can help others to promote similar projects and models that will do good too.
I just wanted to say too, like, I just can't wait to see what this does for our nursing profession and for the students. I am an adjunct instructor out at Southeast Community College, and I teach nursing assistants and med aides. And we talk all the time about this aspect, especially since COVID, of the human connection that's so missing. We can't take our students out to clinical sites for those two programs. And gosh, that piece of it is just missing. And so we try and talk a lot about that piece in class, but it does not even remotely replace the in-person contact they have with the folks that they're going to be caring for. And so I think we might just
We froze up a little on our end, but I just to speak to a little bit of what you began with there, Kelly. It's kind of thrilling to be working in independent older adult community versus the heavily regulated assisted living and long-term care that I have more experience in. But the reason it's kind of thrilling is because, today the limitations of sharing older adults and their knowledge and their wisdom with students has some limitations that unfortunately remain with us from COVID. Independent living is much. I think we'll have more opportunities sooner to share the environment and learn from it. Have others learn from it as well. So we're looking forward to that, and we hope you'll stay in touch with us. And we, even though the first project has been focused with the Bryan group, just because we needed to get started and we couldn't go everywhere, we don't want it to stay just in that Bryan resource area. We hope that there's more to come on this, and that other student bodies will have greater opportunities too.
I know that Joyce and I have to run off to another meeting at 11. So I just want to do a last call on questions or any other things that you guys do have for us. This has been a great presentation and a great group. So thank you for your back and forth on this. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming today, everyone. I think we're all going to be on the waiting list for Sage.
Well, we'll take you. We'll leave some spots for you, maybe.
Good, good.
Yeah, call Aubrey.
Call Aubrey. Anyone have anything else before we wrap up? Well, again, the coalition thanks you all for attending today. We really appreciate everyone being here, and we will get this posted soon. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.
You too. Thank you guys so much.